Medvedev won the toss, and it's going to be the Canadian to get us underway.
Well, hopefully Dennis hasn't seen the win predictor.
First set, Dennis 샤포발로프 representing Team World to serve.
Actually served very well in the doubles yesterday with John Isner, and got hot for a couple of games. He was carried along in the slipstream of Big John in that particular doubles as well. So he will come into this match with a bit of confidence that he's hitting the ball well. He's going to need all of that.
The 22-year-old who was born originally in Tel Aviv to Russian parents, Victor and Tessa, but has grown up in Toronto, Canada, currently ranked at 12 in the world. A year ago, at a career high of 10. It's quite hard to know what to make of his year. The first half was, you could say, a little iffy, got edged out in quite a few deciding sets. Played well in Geneva, where he made the final there, before losing to Casper Ruud. Really, the grass court was part of the saved him in many ways. That wonderful run at Wimbledon, before losing to Djokovic in 3 in the semis. And Mark, you were working with Andy Murray during that run. Of course, he beat Murray in the 3rd round. That may be, for me, the best of Dennis this season.
I think so, yeah. It was a terrific performance. Actually went into locker room afterwards, and Dennis himself said that's probably the best match I've ever played. I mean, again, at Wimbledon, I feel like the ball is a very heavy ball. It kind of keeps it in play a lot more as well than sometimes the lighter balls that we play with on the men's tour. And it's a question you feel with 샤포발로프 for a lot of the players is to stay with him for a set. You know, he's going to serve great. He's going to play very well in patches, but there's going to be potentially a service game here or there that you can capitalize on. You need to be patient and wait for your chance.
This is a really good start, just what Team World need at the beginning of this night's session. Trying to get the garden going and not look at the scoreboard. Funnily enough, I was looking back, Mark, to 2017. I mean, there's 3 years between them, but at the end of the 2017 season, where Dennis really made his breakthrough, he actually ended up ranked higher than Medvedev. He was 51 to Medvedev's 65. A lot has changed since then.
Can we get more over here too, please?
Yeah, it has. Look, he's electrifying, and he does have the capabilities of winning tonight. There's no doubt about that. It's just a question of putting it all together consistently for him. And he's made some deep runs now in majors. He's got that kind of level of belief. He's had a bit of an up and down with the serve over the last sort of couple of years as well, in terms of the numerous double faults that have come. And some matches you can feel as though he's fixed it, and then suddenly it reappears again. He's just a very fluctuating performer.
Yep. Daniel with 2 eyes. That's the way apparently they spell it back in Russia, where he hails from, in the capital Moscow. I did ask him about that. He was quite surprised about the question.
30
You talk about 샤포발로프 being fluctuating. Well, this man has been so consistent, particularly in the second part of the year. He's won 4 titles so far. it's like for the big Russian, playing his first match as a US Open champion. That's really something, isn't it? But it seems as if he always expected to win a slam, whether it was going to be on the hard courts of Australia or in New York.
He's that good and he's that competitive, and he's willing to go where others aren't in terms of being able to stay physically with the great players out there that are going to push you, that are going to test you all the way. And he has that as well to alleviate a lot of the pressure. A wonderful first serve.
He has huge levers, one of the big men on tour, 6'6", almost 2 meters. And actually, his coach, Gilles Savara, who's done an extraordinary job with him, a Frenchman working with a Russian, says that actually his favorite part of Daniel's game is his serve. In a way, we should just explain how the 3 days work in terms of the matchup. The first day, the captains put in their teams and blind. They don't know what's coming, and nor does the other. On the second day, the home team can choose either to put their team down first and get Team Europe to react, or they can choose to do that on Sunday. And tactically, the smartest thing always to do is to leave that until the last day. It might be too late for John McEnroe's men. So today, John put his team in, and Captain Borg could really take his pick. And as we were just talking on in the break between the day session and the night session, he wouldn't have really put Nick Kyrgios, he wouldn't have chosen Nick Kyrgios to play Stefanos Tsitsipas if he were McEnroe today. So that's how it works. That's nice. How much are we going to see him coming in this evening?
I think he's going to need to come in a fair bit. I don't think he wants to be sort of at the back of the court too often, but again, he's got to be selective. Medvedev, the sort of guy that can pass you from a good 3 meters behind his own baseline as well, and it's not always the strongest part of Shapovalov's game to have to hit a couple of volleys. One put away, he's pretty good at that. And he's not always perfect in that discipline.
30 all.
A lefty, watching another lefty. Captain McEnroe thought of that volley. It's not easy, is it, for young Dennis to play in front of John? he'll like that though. This is a really considered start from 샤포발로프. Both men comfortable behind their serve. No breaks so far. 2-1. 샤포발로프 first set.
So before you moved in on that first beautiful job. Only thing on those volleys, like the one you missed, maybe keep your bet, take that extra step. You know, don't reach for it, okay?
For the Laver Cup Boston 2021, NWN Carousel delivers
Not the worst thing in the world, is it, to be just given a few tips on your volleying technique by John McEnroe?
Now, there's people that will pay good money for that, and he's getting it for free out there.
Communications and infrastructure solutions help millions of users win, work, and collaborate.
Sometimes tries to do a little bit too much with that volley. 샤포발로프, again, I think because he's not as comfortable playing with the second volley as well that's coming back. He's always trying to finish it very quickly with that. But it's been, as you say, considered start with the drop shot off that return off the ad side. So he's thinking out here.
We're already racing along here in Boston at the Garden, the third night session, and every single one of them sold out. They can fit about, it's around 20,000 in here, so you do the maths, and that's how many are going to be coming and watching tennis over the course of the rest of the weekend. It was a very successful opening days, plenty of stars in the house as well. We saw Monica Seles here earlier. Andy Roddick has flown in. And man Roger Federer, he's about as well. And I'm sure there's a few other big names sort of dotted around here we haven't found. Very happy under a roof is Daniel. One indoors in Marseille, off the back of that final down in Australia.
So, of course, had such a strong finish to last year, didn't he? Winning the Paris Masters 1000 and the year-end champs as well.
Yeah, too much time. It was an interesting story. I don't know if you heard that in the months leading up to that, Daniel was very frustrated because the year before, back in 2019, the year he made his first US Open final, he was winning titles for fun. And then up to the Paris Masters, he hadn't won a title. And yet, I'll tell you what happened. It's a nice hold, very easy. And I did hear that he's been married for a number of years to former Russian junior player, Daria. And he was saying to her sort of September time, you know, have I lost my level? You know, he was starting to doubt himself, which seems extraordinary given what has happened. And I think what we've all loved is he ran through the Paris Masters, he ran through the last year of the O2 in London, and then he's just continued, hasn't he? He hasn't really missed a beat all year.
He had a beautiful run, didn't he? 11 top 10 wins consecutively for Medvedev before that loss to Novak in the final of Australia.
I believe that you're better with that detection behind Moss. I believe that is Mikhail Nizhny, who's been working with him for a few years, about 2 years now. Former Russian top tenor, Davis Cup hero. You feel Nizhny has brought to the Shapovalov game?
15 all.
Well, I did feel as though he brought a little bit more consistency to the game. I think he brought a little bit more use of the slice backhand, in particularly when he came on board. I think that was a significant sort of moment for Dennis to realise that keeping the ball in play is more important than the $1 million shots that obviously we know he can produce. And obviously that element of having been there and done that is a huge part of just giving him some sort of security that what he's doing out there is the right thing. I still feel as though he's in that kind of transitional stage to finding his perfect performance sort of state of mind and how he should play. I don't think he's there yet, if I'm being honest.
He's quick.
Yeah, and because he plays deep, he's not often moving backwards in the rallies, Medvedev. He's actually moving forward, and he's got a very quick first step. It looks like a good shot to play against Medvedev, the drop shot. I'm not necessarily sure it actually is, unless you're playing it to bring him in to try and test his volleys. Tried that play a few times, hasn't he, already? The serve out wide on the deuce side and volley.
40.
Medvedev is far too intelligent to allow him to get away with that too often, and he was ready to pounce.
Got caught there, the young Canadian, and a first opportunity for Team Europe. That's well saved. Daniil with 2 eyes and Dennis with 1 end.
He's hitting the ball very well off the ground at the moment. Surprised that Medvedev hasn't found his backhand a little bit more off some of these second serve returns, but credit to Shapovalov. That was a full-blooded swing at that backhand, and it looked like a gorgeous strike. He's looking confident. The moments that can cost you, because it obviously doesn't increase your belief at actually doing this.
It was actually harder to miss, wasn't it? In many ways, just ran straight through it. Hasn't been in form since he made that run to the last four at Wimbledon. Early exits back home in Toronto at the Masters there and in Cincinnati. Disappointing US Open where he was beaten in 3 sets by Lloyd Harris. This event could set the tone for Dennis's end of season.
Credit to him to going back to the net, trying to finish it up there, and he did a good job this time. Perhaps the absence of alternatives is allowing him that freedom to think clearly.
You alluded to the serve, which has been through a few modifications over the years. What are the main points really of that?
I mean, it's just very long and elongated, and it just feels as though there's quite a bit of separation between the racket head low down and the ball when it's up high, and it feels like a lot of things have got to come together at exactly the right time, particularly on the second serve, for him to make sure that he feels confident all the time. Yeah, you feel as though perhaps there's a few superfluous bits to this service motion that he could potentially get rid of.
Tell you what, he's getting the ball through this court. And just the sound. Going to hear from Jim at the change of ends whose courts are just the sound of the ball coming off his racket. Something's working for him out here. That's a gritty hold from Shapovalov. So early days here in this first set, and we are on serve.
Team World lead, 3-2.
Well, one of the interesting subplots here at this year's Laver Cup really surrounds Daniil Medvedev, and there are a couple facets to it. One, as the most recent Grand Slam champion in men's tennis, how would this American crowd here in Boston respond to him? And they've been unequivocally supportive. They've loved him. He's gotten massive applause every time he's walked onto this court. The second subplot is how's he going to play as a Grand Slam champion. And this is a very difficult opening match to play after your world's been turned upside down. I've lived it. It's not easy to feel that pressure that you're now the hunted and no longer the hunter. Medvedev coming out here playing a high stakes, high pressure match against an amazingly gifted opponent in front of a full house here. That doesn't happen very often for new Grand Slam champions. So far, so good. But man, this is fun to watch, as always, at Laver Cup.
Daniil Medvedev, the only man in the two teams to have a Grand Slam title. That gives the Laver Cup a different look from the one it's had from its 3 previous incarnations, where it was overloaded with Grand Slam titles with Federer and Nadal. They're both recovering from injury. Of course, we saw Novak Djokovic in Chicago. He took part in Team Europe. fascinating to watch Daniel in the subsequent seasons, just to see where he's at. And I think ambition levels for the Russian is to win multiple slams. He has only just got going. Still quite a long way from that #1 ranking, 1,500 points separate him and Djokovic. That's a long way.
Long. Let's second serve. Long.
Roger, alongside another former fabulous ex-player, Mary Jo Fernandez. And I believe Mary Jo is off duty over the next few days. Her husband, Tony Godzik, has been Roger's long-time agent. To see Roger's father here as well too. In fact, it was Roger when he was in the car many years ago with Tony saying, just played an exhibition and he realised he'd won more money that evening than Rod Laver in the whole of his career. It's one thing to say that, Mark, but it's another thing to create what has happened, what they have done over an event that began back in 2017. Rod has been to all of them. That'll do nicely. And the Russian ticking through another service game.
3 games all.
Yeah, making history, obviously, in terms of what Roger's done on the court, what Rod did on the court, and then obviously celebrating that greatness through a competition of this magnitude that has taken on a life of its own. And this has been really the big acid test, hasn't it? Or I should say litmus test for the competition. None of the big three here. And we have had just another phenomenal Laver Cup in terms of the attendance, the passion from the crowd here in the Garden as well. And it will just go to show that the Laver Cup is here to stay and will go from strength to strength in the years to come.
Roll on London and the O2 next year.
Last game with this particular set of balls as well, when they're at their slowest, that may actually help. 샤포발로프 hit through the court, hit through his shots, but at the same time you feel as though it could be a good time for Medvedev to extend these rallies further, as he's just done on that opening point. Certainly has played very conservatively through the middle of the court so far, the Russian, on the return games. He can certainly expand his attack if he desires so.
30-15.
That's impressive. 샤포발로프 going really well here, and we remain on serve in this first set. All this is close by. It's a heartbreaker for Diego Schwartzman yesterday against Andre Rublev. That was some match, wasn't it, Mark? And I just really felt for him because a couple of years ago he was edged out in Chicago, having those match points against David Goff, and couldn't quite push through. How Team Europe, excuse me, how Team World needed that point. Everything could look very different had he been able to come through against Rublev.
Yeah, it was a great match. Again, another high-quality encounter between the two of them, and they're going to play some nice battles over the next year for us to enjoy. And Diego was very, very popular. Of course, you know, we're not that far from Team World being right back in this as well. They have a strong session tonight. And
he's not doing a lot of stretching there, really, is he?
I think he's working on his foot there.
Is he?
Yeah,
okay.
you can concentrate on your phone when you're stretching your foot out.
Okay. The fourth meeting between these two. 샤포발로프, who won their first back at the US Open, the year that he made that stunning run as a teenager. He then won again from a set down a year later on the hard courts of Washington. But as I mentioned just after the knock-up, was Medvedev was very comfortable when they played in Tokyo back in 2019. This looks like it's going to have a slightly more interesting complexion. Really good opening half an hour or so. The Russian with the new balls. Just a reminder that each match is worth 2 points today and 3 tomorrow. So there's still 4 points on the table in this night session. Nice, very nice. Mark, you were down at the ATP Cup, weren't you, at the start of 2020? And I remember Daniil playing some doubles there, and his teammates, I have to say, were pretty tough on him about his volleys.
38-15.
And at the ATP Cup, the team almost sit on the court, and the court is a slightly different setup from here. And honestly, They were ripping him, and I think he didn't take offense, but he's done something about that part of his game. Russians having a very good year. Great to see Cam Norrie here as a hitter. He's had a wonderful season, picking up his first title. He's going to learn a lot in this environment.
Yep, that was a big moment.
40-30.
There's a little opening there for him. Medvedev looking just a touch fragile on his forehand. He tried to find that particular wing of the Russian, overhit it.
Let. First serve.
Daniel not having it all his own way here. First time 샤포발로프 pushing to deuce on the Russian service game.
And it is the genius of him, Sam.
That came through not far shy of 130 miles an hour. Yeah.
It's genius. I mean, he backs himself to hit it. He does miss a few, as we know, but...
And what a way to get out of a game that was just starting to look a little awkward.
The game's on.
And that's where he builds the protection into his second serve as well, because obviously if you suddenly think that that's a potential serve that's coming at you on break point and up for yourself, you're not going to step in, and he's able then to maybe just roll in a second serve. So there's a huge amount of intelligence around hitting a second serve like that, but obviously there is danger attached to it as well. But he weighs up the situation so quickly, Medvedev, and decides what to do. And more often than not, he's absolutely right.
And you just sense he's going to go into overdrive here.
15.
Yeah, but it's an elegant shot, isn't it? And it's flamboyant and it draws the ooze of the crowd, but it completely maroons him on the court. He's got no chance of coming back from that position. He's in the air for so long, unless he hits a winner.
Yep. Put himself in some trouble here. There's a man down at the other end who has this big, powerful mind that sort of seems to process many things so quickly. Almost like a computer that he has on board.
Yeah, if you're in Shapovalov's shoes now, you'd like to find a way to get to the net here, rather than trying to finish it from the back of the court. Will we see a serve and volley from the Canadian off a first serve? He was coming. Look at Dennis's split forehand to backhand. He's high by anyone's standard. 63% of the time he likes to get his forehand into play. So you know, as an opponent, if you can try and find that backhand, he's least comfortable on that wing. Medvedev did a good job.
After playing a very Very good opening 40 minutes. 샤포발로프 in real trouble here, facing triple break point. Already saved the break point a couple of service games ago. And in the end, that was a very easy break. And Medvedev will serve for this opening set. And Mark, I thought you made a very good point. You just look back to that first point of that ninth game where he showboated with the backhand, just opened the door, didn't it? It got him in so much trouble.
Yeah, it's an attractive brand of tennis that 샤포발로프 plays, but at times you can't just go to that kind of just because it feels good and everything else. You've got to look at the situation, 4-all opening point, and you feel as though that's your play. Okay, fine, play it, but you've got to hit a winner, otherwise you're better off standing there, planting, recovering and getting in, and ultimately that is what has opened the door, as you say. But if I was to... He played a great match against Andy and he didn't have any flaws. It was absolutely perfection. But if you were to run the book on him, there are a few things that he does in patterns, but the biggest thing is stay with him. Stay with him. Out of 6 service games in a set, I believe there's going to be one where you're going to get an opportunity to break. He's going to give you that opportunity as well.
It's looking a little gloomy on the Team World bench, understandably down 7-1 in the match score.
Time.
Yeah, and he's actually had a pretty good set by serving standards at the moment. He's usually under 60% of his first serves in. He's up around 70% for this set, 샤포발로프.
He's playing well, but he hasn't been able to lay a hand on this man, the newly minted US Open champion.
All.
So little to go wrong in that motion, isn't it? Gee whiz.
Talk about efficiency.
Oh. Just doesn't waste any energy out there. Pretty much untroubled behind his serve, Medvedev. Couple of set points here. And it's all going Team Europe's way. US Open champion taking this first set. And Medvedev wins it by 6 games to 4.
Well, it was poetry in motion, really, wasn't it? And Thomas Enquist coming over. Let's see if we can hear something.
Good rhythm now. Yeah. I'm a little bit more ready for when he serves and more now. I was not expecting.
Quite get what he was saying. If he said he was more ready after half an hour or something, but certainly the last 15 minutes or so, he showed us everything it was. I say that was a pretty good set of tennis, to be honest, from Dennis. 12 unforced errors, 7 from the Russian, 11 winners. It's a great brand of tennis that Daniel brings to the court as well. You know, he's a great interviewer, he's a great talker, but I love the way that he plays. It's pretty unique. He'll take a lot of balls down the line on his forehand to get his backhand into play. There's a certain logic of the way that he puts the jigsaw puzzle of a tennis match together. And he ultimately just worked it out. He's willing to do things that are out of his comfort zone, like get to the net, as you said, Sam. He's not the most natural volleyer out there on the tour, but he will appear at the net when he needs to, when he feels as though the patterns at the back of the court are going against him.
And out there this evening, he handled a pretty red-hot Denis Shapovalov for the first half an hour or so. No problem at all in the end. Just the one break, that was all that was required. In control, that's how he wrapped up that first set.
Time.
And everything has just got a little bit harder, hasn't it, for Team Worldic once again, having to play catch up.
Second set.
What has the 22-year-old from Toronto got?
Well, the good news is he's only got to win a set to get himself in a Laver breaker, and that is the beauty of this competition as well. So yes, disappointment for him, he's down a set, but still very much in the running here. It's a shot that I think is a good barometer for Shapovalov if he's playing well. If he hits his forehand line well, I think you're in trouble. If he misses a few, it's not good news. That's also not good news, by the way. He is getting very few cheap points, whereas Medvedev, almost 60% of his first serves aren't coming back.
That's a huge number, isn't it?
Massive.
I always leave the numbers to you, you know that. It's safer that way, but I had a sense that was a big one.
I mean, he's up with Isner with those numbers, Medvedev, in terms of unreturned serves in this match. I don't see any real benefit to hitting that serve. You're not going to hit an ace. He's going to be able to find your backhand easier from back there with his forehand, Medvedev, to go straight down the line, hook it inside in. Much better off taking it wide, getting the cross-court backhand return and hitting your forehand. More pressure on him. He doesn't hit that serve as well.
A reminder of just how well Daniel moves. It's something that Coach Savara talked about last year, how physically he's maturing, and particularly over the last 12 months, but the biggest change has been in his mentality.
Such a great shot from Medvedev. The length was obviously exceptional, but the middle of the court, he didn't give his opponent any angle to work with. But when you see your opponent running like that, there's a sense that you want to keep on top of the rally, that you've actually got the point won, and Shapovalov trying to do too much.
The Canadian in trouble here right at the start of this second set.
A rare free point.
30-40.
It is relentless. And Medvedev now leading by a set and a break. Jim, I believe you're courtside. I think Team World could probably do with your input, or at least some cheering up.
All right, I'm down here with Felix Auger-Aliassime. And first of all, Felix, we didn't talk to you after your epic match yesterday with Matteo. What was your takeaway from that fabulous contest?
Yeah, it was a good title. I think we put on a good show. I think myself, I played some good tennis, but at the end, it was disappointing. You know, I want to put points on the board. That's what I'm here for. So I was gutted for my team. I was, yeah, disappointed, but in the end, the level was good.
And what about Dennis? What's he need to do now to turn this around?
No, he's playing some great tennis, so I hope he's going to turn this thing around.
It's going to take a miraculous performance, isn't it? Because once Medvedev sort of gets you locked in, very hard to wriggle away. This year, when he has won the first set on 40 occasions, he has gone on to win the match, and only twice has he lost from this position.
And I'm going to guess that the twice that he lost, he wasn't break up in the second set as well.
I haven't got the exact data on that, but yes, it's a different format. But just, I think he is also aware to put down a marker. You know, first event after the US Open. Just let the tour know that there isn't going to be any let up for the rest of the season. It's been extraordinary to watch him over the last decade. This very emotionally out of control junior, and there were some pretty crazy scenes, I understand, to becoming a champion.
Second serve.
Yeah, I can't see any letdown. I mean, I know he is more of the hunted now that he's won the US Open, but he's still hunting Novak. He's still hunting a number of firsts, isn't he? Lots of firsts in terms of Grand Slam titles. A first in terms of being world #1 as well. So, you know, he's got all the ingredients still very much in the mix for him to come out and be hungry and ambitious and not let his foot off the accelerator. Plus, he's had unbelievable role models in front of him for the last decade that have shown him, you know, to go on and be a winner. He's got a 1% chance of winning this, Dennis. Is that high?
5 games in a row now for the Russian. All the momentum with Team Europe. It's a good job they don't put that win predictor up on the Jumbotron, isn't it? So the players can see it. Extraordinary venue, this stadium. Here at the Garden in Boston, in this northeastern corner of the city. There's an ice rink under the wooden boards that they're playing on. I've seen some great sporting moments, and you can understand why. Look at the reaction. Expects to make it. He's on top of everything. It's turning into a pretty miserable encounter for 샤포발로프.
30 all.
Yeah,
It's like he's just running out of ideas.
yeah, it's just not a great play, if I'm being honest. You know, because Daniel returns from so far behind the baseline, his next shot is a good 2 meters up the court. His next shot is on the baseline. That's how he moves. That's the tidal movement that Medvedev has, from deep to almost close to the baseline to right up on the baseline. He's going forward after the return anyway.
40-30.
I like that description, tidal, because that's really perfect. Because he is deep, but he doesn't stay deep. Having to play so many difficult shots. I think just remind ourselves, he's 12 in the world. And
Dude.
he is nowhere right now in this matchup.
I've never loved the fact that he serves so wide on the outside. I feel as though he loses a little bit down the tee on the outside, to be honest, because it has to come in on the diagonal to some degree to get down the tee.
Advantage.
So he has a long way to cover from where he is on the baseline when he's serving and volleying on the outside. There is space down the line for Medvedev almost to hit it there every time. And actually, if Medvedev then goes cross-court, Shapovalov's kind of movement and his balance is going across the court. And therefore, if you get back in behind him, it's tough for him to change direction.
Relentless, isn't it?
It's relentless brilliance, that's what it is.
Dude.
It's never overplaying a situation. It's having the discipline to hit the right shot all the time, even though you know you're capable of doing more. You're capable of hitting winners from anywhere in the court when you have the ability that Medvedev does, but you're still disciplined enough to hit the right shot, the percentage play. That's what's so impressive for these great players.
He needs something,
Team Europe.
and he's got to find it very quickly. Tough night for Dennis, which started so promisingly. Medvedev eyeing up a double break. Six games in a row now, just an hour on court, and everything going the Russians' way. He leads by a set and 3-love.
No need to say a word, is there, Bjorn? Just keep doing what you're doing. For Johnny Mack, he's unfortunately not going to be able to solve the problems that he needs to right now. It'd be very interesting for 샤포발로프 to get Johnny Mack on board, I would think, as a coach. Try and help him with his hands at the net. I think that would be a really smart play for somebody like Dennis. It's not mental toughness for him. It's a little, it's holes in his game. He looks a little lost at the moment on the tennis court.
It's not easy, is it, in these big stadiums when it's all going against you?
I'm not a big proponent of that. I don't mind that play.
You know, Sam, we look at a lot of the numbers about how players play, and you look at Dennis's slice backhand rate, he's down at about 19%, which I think is low for a single hander. The way that he hits the backhand is not his favorite shot. As I said earlier, he likes to predominantly play with his forehand. Maybe 19% slice backhand is not a great slice backhand, even those 19%. And that, again, is an area where I feel as though he should be up around 25 to 30% minimum slice backhands in a match like this against Medvedev, who's such a flat hitter, knifing the ball through the court. He's not comfortable doing it. He's got a very exciting off-season if he wants it to be.
And by contrast, Medvedev's game, possibly with the exception of sometimes when we see him in the forecourt, looks very complete and reliable and with still room to grow. Extraordinary. And Mark, when I watch a point like that, it was interesting hearing Daniel when he first started playing, and he doesn't come from a tennis family. It was a bit of an accident. I think he saw an advert for tennis and he gave it a go. He was coached actually originally by a lady called Ekaterina Krychakova, who worked with Vera Zvonareva. And at every single lesson that he went to, obviously in a group to start with, she would ask the youngsters, what is the golden rule? And they would have to repeat, you know, how do you win a tennis match? And they'd have to say, you pass the ball one more time than your opponent. And I have a feeling that Daniel took that to heart.
Yeah, he did, and he also took another part of the game to heart, and that is the ability to make a lot of returns, which fits into what you're saying, and that's why he stands so deep. This is what I was talking about, his tidal movement through the court off the return. 5 meters, jumps up 3 meters for his first shot after the return. The next shot, as I say, is even closer to that baseline. You don't have him at the back of the court for very long. He is very well aware that you don't offer up too much real estate to your opponent. But what he wants to do first and foremost is make as many returns as he can.
15 all.
Actually sat as a fan and watched him play Lloyd in New York, and you would think on those kind of quick courts that he would be very difficult to handle. Lloyd looked very comfortable, very secure at the back of the court. And Dennis's frustration in that match, I felt again, came from insecurities about what he is trying to do, what his patterns of play are, what he should be trying to achieve out there. And that's why I say I think he's got a fantastic off-season to look forward to. I'm not sure, you know, how much he's going to be able to do while he's still chasing these tournaments and everything else. He's going to have a lot of wins, I'm sure, before the end of the season. But I mean, if he plans his off-season with Mikhail well, I feel as though his upside at the start of next season could be phenomenal.
Yeah, they've got a lot to think about, haven't they? And this might focus their attention.
Got a lot to work with as well, which is exciting.
I mean, it's great that Mikhail's here. You want to see your charge go up against the best. It's getting tough, it really is.
Not up.
Plenty of motivation as well for Dennis Felix, his longtime friend, former doubles partners, just nudged ahead of him in the world rankings and looks to be going really well. It's a break point in this game.
Dude.
There isn't going to be any let up. Medvedev very much in the mood tonight. Looking for a fourth successive break of the Shapovalov serve. The big Russian on his debut, very close to putting points on the board for Team Europe, and within one game away now of securing victory. We've already seen a lot of tennis already in the day session, and John Isner, after his defeat, we caught up with him in the interview room.
So, you know, like, just as I said, it brings out the best in everyone, and in particular on our team. We get along, we sort of relish that underdog role, because there's no question we are the underdogs, given how good our opposition is here. But we do relish that, and we compete hard, and we leave it all out there, and we have a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah, one of the matches of the weekend that he played with Sasha Zverev, 3 tiebreakers. It was really quite something, but yeah, it's uphill, and it was on paper, and it's proved to be so in reality. Europe on the verge of popping a couple more points to their score. Next up, it'll be the doubles. And we're going to have another chance to see Nick Kyrgios and John Isner, particularly gloomy in press after that defeat. They're going to be up against. Andrei Rublev, who was spectacular yesterday, and Stefanos Tsitsipas, who was absolutely ruthless and clinical in the opening match against Kyrgios. So they get to meet for a second time today. Medvedev to wrap up the points. You a fan of the electronic line calling? Are you missing those?
I am missing the I am missing the lines people and the challenges.
Following that golden rule of his first coach.
How good is it?
15 all. It's extraordinary, isn't it, to watch? I feel he is never going to miss. I think Felix also just said to the guys on the Team Europe bench, this is too much. Give us a break here.
All.
Utterly unfazed by his Laver Cup debut. Come on, Dennis.
$30, 40.
Doesn't feel as though when he hits that shot, it's perfect form and function. It feels as though his arm's just operating on his own. It doesn't feel as though his body's kind of there helping hit that shot, and it's in unison. It's the same as his forehand volley. You watch where his right arm is a lot of the time on his forehand volley. It doesn't really help him stay in control, which is why he misses some of the easy volleys that we've seen him miss tonight. Just out of sync.
The man in blue at the other end has been sensational. Match point for the Russian.
Chris Clary of the New York Times came out with something today. So why doesn't the umpire, or should the umpire, say match point in these situations? Match point Team Europe, or in a big Wimbledon final, championship point, rather than just 40-30.
Well, change in our sport.
I mean, it makes total sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But why are we not doing it? Hadn't even thought about it. Brilliant suggestion. Implement it immediately here.
Game, set, and match.
The champion in New York delivers in Boston.
6 love.
And even Daniel knew how good that was, and almost a wry apology of how one-sided that second set became. Straight sets for the world number 2. Took him just an hour and a quarter. And Team World's position, well, if it's not unassailable, and it isn't as yet, still plenty of points on the board. It's first to 13, looks as strong as it has ever been in all the editions of the Laver Cup. Mark, that was a great watch, wasn't it, if you're a Medvedev fan and you're on the Team Europe bench?
Yeah, he looks so secure.